Okay.
I heard a knock upon my door, midnight Christmas Eve. Half asleep I hurried down my visitor to receive. At first I thought no one was there, then all at once I saw a little baby lying there, crying there at my door. I took the baby in my arms in the winter's night. The church bells never rang so clear, the stars never shone so bright. And as I gazed upon the face of this foundling child, it seemed the angels on my tree looked down at me and smiled. I thought about that holy child, that Christmas long ago. That was when I saw the note lying there in the snow. Please, whoever finds my child, be good to him and kind. God bless you, that was all it said, and Mary, it was signed.
Beautiful, Randy, beautiful. Welcome, folks, to Are You Ready? Are you ready for the Lord? And I guess, Randy, probably the first thing we ought to do before we start today is really recognize what this month is all about. And with our wonderful judge here with us today from Kenton County, Kris Knockelman, Judge Executive, we're going to talk to him at length about all the things that's going on in Kenton County, one of the greatest places in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And but before we begin, let's say our Father prayer, if you don't mind, Randy, together.
Yeah.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. And thank you, Lord, for sending your only begotten Son to save us all from our sins in our Commonwealth, in our cities, in our counties, and in our country, and in our world. God bless you and thank you. Today is a special treat for me. We've had Judge Moore on from Boone County, Gary Moore. We've had Judge Pendery on, Steve Pendery from over in Campbell County. And today, from my home county, even though I spent a lot of my life in Boone County with the Boone County JCs, when I lived in Boone County for a good while, I was born in Covington and raised out there on Wolf Road in Taylor Mill. I'm a Taylor Mill rug rat.
Sure.
And then moved out to the farm out on Moffett and Martin Roads and grew up there. I was a little farm boy, about 12 acres, where we completely fed ourselves with our own cows, our own hogs, and you name it, we had it. And so I have a fond place in my heart for Kenton County and all the people of Northern Kentucky. And Judge,
And Kenton County loves you, by the way.
well, I appreciate that. But, you know, I sit and think about who's in office, in public office. And it's a great calling to be in public office. I hope we haven't gotten ourselves to the point where it's cost so much to run for office that the average person doesn't consider it. I remember when I first ran my first statewide race, I spent $10,000, and to me that was a fortune. And I got out of the race because I couldn't afford to mortgage the house to stay in it. And a couple of millionaires got in the race against me, good guys,
Sure.
Tom Harris and Bev Yiser, both of them millionaires, one an egg producer, Yiser Eggs, and the other one the banker down in Carrollton. And I wound up dropping out of that race because of the cost of being in it. Of course, the good Lord blessed me, but years later, I was the first Northern Kentuckian to be elected to a statewide office in almost a century.
Yes.
But it took a long time to do it. And I'm really proud of the fact that you got involved in government, because I want you to tell the folks, before we go into about the new government center, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, because you have a beautiful story of life and a beautiful family, and just blessed to have the family you have, and we are blessed as citizens that you have that family, because that's the unit that holds the whole country and world together.
No question. Well, you're very kind. I appreciate you having me on. But and I'm definitely not Gary Moore or Steve Pendery. Love those guys to death. But my roots are also Taylor Mill, actually. And I grew up in Taylor Mill, Sunny Acres area, and lived there until we moved to Covington. And I was very, very blessed also to go to Covington Latin School. So went to Latin School, went to Xavier University, and that entire time lived in Covington, Taylor Mill, married my wife Lisa, and we moved to the near St. Elizabeth Hospital in Covington. And in that time frame, through high school, college, getting married, starting to build our family, worked in our family plumbing heating business, and all that time, total support from my family. I'm the youngest of 9 kids. My mother died when I was a baby, and my dad remarried, and that was a combined 9 kids, but I was the youngest of them. And then and now, they all take care of me. I just had a family text this morning, and my mom has been healing from some injuries and stuff, and everybody's taking care of each other and stepping in where necessary. Then I started serving in politics or in the community service. It was actually through Clyde Middleton. So I helped Clyde on one of his elections, and he appointed me to the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission at 19. So I started serving on that board at 19, and I served for almost 20 years. And met people at that time who encouraged me to run for county commissioner. Ran for county commissioner, served 2 terms, 1 term with Judge Dries, and then 1 term with Judge Arlinghouse. And we loved every minute of that. We did a lot of great things together, and then just decided to run for judge. And I'm in the spot that I am today because of family. My wife Lisa, who supports our business, that I can be away from the business almost 90% of the time. And really just a great group of commissioners, Joe Nienaber, Beth Sewell, and John Drought, who I know you've known for a long time. We have such a great relationship in terms of just really doing it for the right reasons, I think. All 4 of us don't do it for the money nor the glory nor whatever. We just feel like we're trying to do the right thing for the community. So we're very fortunate. We support each other, argue with each other, debate with each other, and try to do some good things. So people say, how you doing? I always say I'm the luckiest guy in Northern Kentucky.
Randy, do you have anything to add to that?
We sure appreciate you, Judge. And out our way, you really helped us a lot with the road situation over in Latonia Lakes, which we were talking about how the folks are wonderful folks over that way, and it really helped us out quite a bit there.
Well, and that's, by the way, should be congratulated, both of my predecessors, really, Ralph Dries and Steve Arlinghouse, both tried to help the community, and then the county came together to, and those who don't know, invested a little over $2 million, and then the community also put their local dollars in to kind of take a city that had fallen on hard times, divested, or not divested, but closed up, gone and become part of the county, unincorporated, and then we redid the roads, as you alluded to. But by the way, as a note, your church, and Byron Lyle, who is obviously one of your ministers,
Super guy.
is a saint, a living saint, and helped organize the community, helped keep them, everybody was peaceful, and tried to deal with the challenges of a neighborhood that had fallen on hard times, and then the county dollars investing in roads. And I think that neighborhood still has work to do, but it's come a long way. And it's really just everybody kind of getting together trying to do good work. So it's another little piece of what we do on a daily basis that most people don't watch, but it was volunteers like Byron and your church, the elected officials who supported the investment of dollars in the neighborhood. So it was a good thing.
Fantastic. Well, one of the topics we wanted to talk about today, particularly for the citizens of Northern Kentucky, because this is a great decade, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you've run for many offices I have statewide, some of them local, you can look at the history of the whole area. And history is the light to our future, I always say. Because what you have done with the new government center, it's a big investment.
Yes.
A huge investment. But it's an investment that you really built wisely. And I give you and the commissioners and your staff
Yes.
tremendous credit for overseeing it properly.
Thanks.
That's very important. And one of the things that I would recommend to the new governor, even though I wasn't for him, I would recommend that whoever he puts in his positions, I noticed he just appointed a new Secretary of Transportation, Jim Gray, and I noticed that he just threw a little shot of arrow over the legislature's head by saying that the Right to Life bill was unconstitutional. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah, right.
Could have waited, but that's his little signal. I'm going to veto it if you pass it. They'll have to override his veto. But the important thing is, I think he's elected, just like when Donald Trump was elected. A lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah.
But we should all pull together to try to help both the president and the governor.
And pray for him.
And pray for them. And pray for their decisions. Doesn't mean we'll agree with everything.
Right.
And but we can disagree with them with dignity.
Totally.
And that's what's important, and that's, of course, what we want to do on our show, is try to use dignity with people to influence them. But your staff, in those positions in Frankfort, what they do and how they're run is a tremendous, you can either make or break a state.
Mm-hmm.
You can either make or break the teachers.
Yep.
What you do with the funds that the good Lord gives you and the citizens give you to operate with, you have to be a good steward.
Yep.
And you have been. And I've watched it very closely. And I'm proud of you and your staff. So let's take a little look, if we can.
Sure.
Now, what I did was I went down and pestered some of the staff. And I want to show just a couple of things here, because this is also about Christmas and about what's important. And you know, we've lost some good friends. But we really haven't lost them, have we?
Yep.
They're in heaven.
Yep.
And so we both want to feel sad, but we also want to rejoice in the fact that they are going to heaven. And we want to pray for their families. So you'll see a little picture in the very first here, a young lady that a lot of people knew, that worked very hard. She was scarred as a child, all the way from the neck up. Terribly. Shriners Burn Institute saved her life. And her father, Gerald, my brother, who plays music with Randy for years and years and years. And we still go to the homeless shelter every fourth Friday, Randy and I do. But we all used to go. They're all gone on to heaven except Randy and I and a couple others. And but I wanted to show my little niece. So you'll see my little niece's gravesite here. We put some flowers on it on the first thing here. But it's only about 3 minutes and 32 seconds to run through a look at the new building and a look at the new courthouse and even a picture of the old courthouse, and we're going to talk about all that.
Sure.
So let me see if I can get that out here to where it really looks nice. And if it makes sense, let's see here now. There we go. And you get down on that, June. My videographer, by the way, happens to be my wife. Smartest move I ever made.
Indeed.
Now you down on it, are you? I'll try to start it now. Technology. There's a little grave site and little flowers we put out there for Cindy. And there you are,
What a grand opening.
Yeah.
And the ribbon cutting in the lobby area. And there's Santa.
There's
Where
Santa.
that could be.
And we actually filmed that in the CPC studio.
Great. That was a cool goal I saw. That was Dick Von Haynes.
Dick Von Haynes on there. Now there's my brother Gerald, and we're showing the Santa show in the background.
Oh,
There's our
nice.
beautiful historic courthouse
Yep.
we'll talk about.
Sure.
And
Flags are
Independence.
flying. There we go. There's the new building.
There's the new buildings.
So the old Bavarian building to the right is we call it the South Wing now, which still has the Bavarian logo on the side there, which we cleaned up, repainted, and this is the lobby foyer area. There's your
That's my license
there's your
plate.
tag.
It's appropriate.
And as you enter the building, we do have some, that's looking back out there towards the entrance, but we have really now all the county officers it's the most consolidated county building, I think, in the state, between sheriff, Commonwealth's attorney, county attorney, administration, etc. But we have the entire team is under one roof. So we brought 4 locations under one roof with this move. This is memorabilia of the Bavarian Brewery, which the last remaining family of the brewery, the Schott family, they committed they actually wrote us a check for $230,000 to Behringer Crawford into the county to curate the history of the site.
Oh, how wonderful.
And so this was built, will be a permanent exhibit to the history of the building, the workers that worked in the building. They had, at one time, there were as many as almost 300 workers in that building and on that site. You talk about entrepreneurs and business and economic development, this was it. And so he's continued, by the way, the Reed Schott is the gentleman who is committed to helping this, and in addition to the memorabilia, his money is being used to allow us to have a room on the second floor called the Reedland Schott Room, the 2 family names, which will be used for a community room. So businesses, families will be able to use it for gatherings up to about 150 people at no or very limited cost. And there's our county administrator who keeps me straight every day.
Is that Joe?
That's Joe Schreiber. Yes, he's had a couple of decades at the county, and he's kind of keeps things moving. He's the top dog. And so the entire building site, between the consolidation of the old building and the new structure, which is 5 stories, and there's a picture.
Gail Hammond.
There you go. Okay.
And recognize this guy from the Northern
Yes.
Kentucky Brotherhood
Yep,
Singers,
that's
Rick Jennings.
fantastic.
And then there's, of course, the church I go to, Bethesda Community Church. And of course, there's the real reason for the season, the birth of Christ.
Yes.
There's a cool ghoul. I just love him, Dick Von Haynes. And there's, of course, my wife and my children. And my son, by the way, Guy Stephenson, just retired after 36 years as the director of the Kentucky Revenue Office in Northern Kentucky.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. We're back to the beginning.
Back to the beginning there. So we tried to show you a little bit there of what we've had now. So you folks will know, if you go out on our Facebook site, under John Stephenson, I put the whole thing that I did down there, including a little interview with Joe,
Great.
on the Facebook site and on YouTube. In fact, the show that we do today, we will put it on Facebook and on YouTube under Travels with the Stephensons. And if you go out on YouTube, you can see a lot of my programs on there. We've done over, I haven't got them all on there yet, but we've done over 1,000 television shows now. And very first one on public access was 1982.
Wow.
And Store Cable, and that was Home, How to Weatherize Your Home.
Yep, that's great.
I noticed one thing, very important, that you all did with the ceremony down there. You had the bishop there in the church record. That is wonderful.
Thank you.
You know, Randy will agree with me, I think, on this. Whether you go to Catholic church or Methodist church or Baptist church or there's a lot of churches.
Totally, right.
Go to church.
Right.
Get your family involved in your church. Because government, the separation of church and state was never written in the Constitution anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't. A lot of people like to think it is, but it's not in that Constitution. In fact, when George Washington was the president, the first duty that he did was take the country to prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want this country to last for any length of time, when you look at history again, the light to our future, and as a government teacher, I can assure you, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, if your country is going to last, you're going to have people who are morally inclined, and people who go to church normally are morally compliant, and they are taught that way from the early years up.
Agree totally.
And so that I was very proud to see. And
Thank you.
he was at the Right to Life rally last year that I filmed too, and did a great talk there. And when the boys from Covington Catholic got into the hot water that they didn't deserve,
Right.
I went right down there with my camera and filmed it all and said, hey, wait a minute,
Nothing here.
I've checked this out. I used to be in Washington, I know who to call.
Yep.
These boys are innocent.
Yeah, sure were.
And they were innocent.
Yep.
But today, it's so quick that we want to jump on somebody and accuse them falsely.
Right.
And I have never seen so many accusations against anybody like they have attacked our president. I mean, there's a time and place when you just got to say, hey, fellas, you lost the election.
You disagree, but move on.
Get up and move on.
Yeah.
Now, with all of that is down there, let's talk a little bit about, do you know a rough figure on what it costs to do that all
Sure.
out there?
Well, we're about $29 million of all the construction and development is the investment. We bought the property actually for $4 million from Bill Young and his investment. He actually had it listed for over $7.5 million, and then he had invested in it almost 5.5. So we were able to get, I consider, a very reasonable number.
Oh, yes.
And that was the whole 4-acre site. And so we acquired it, and then of course did the construction with Turner Construction and their team for the $29 million. So, and you alluded to it earlier, is that public buildings are tough because none of us would like to spend money on things. But just imagine where the community would be without the structures that are in Washington or the structures that are in Frankfort. Could the state of Frankfort or state of Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, could it have a capitol that is, you know, a wooden building and people just get together in a 300-person room? Well, sure, but aren't we glad that someone made the investment in the Capitol in Frankfort? Now, we're not the same kind of structure, we're not the same kind of investment in just a Kenton County, but we are the 3rd largest county in the Commonwealth.
Right.
And we had a structure that was not usable for the long term. It was empty, it had no parking. We knew that we would have to invest, literally our estimates were, we were going to have to invest $23 million to stay in the old location with no parking in a half-empty building with 4 locations with other entities in different areas. So this way we were able to bring all that together. Yes, we spent another $6 million on the construction over the 23, but that way we have this investment made for the long term for all these services to be under one roof with hundreds of parking spots where people can get in. And since you were there, we've opened up the parking underneath of the I-75 construction there. and that's all parking for employees. So we now have today, when someone pulls into the lot off of now, and you'll love this, John, it is Simon Kenton Way,
Yes.
the address of the building.
I love that. Are you right?
And the address is 1840, the founding year of the county. And I give total credit for one of our, you talk about our team members at the county. John Stanton was the one who actually brought the idea up, and we were able to get the city to rename the street to Simon Kenton Way to 1840, that honors that. And then I want to share this with you, and it's we're jumping to the end of this, but we'll be announcing probably in the next year and a half and formalizing it. But we have a private donor who will be building and paying for a 13-foot Simon Kenton statue, which will be at the entrance of the building.
Oh, how wonderful.
There's a pedestal to the right as you enter the structure of the building, and we have lights on it. There's just an empty pedestal right now, but there'll be the memory of Simon Kenton. So we have the building memory, we have the memory of our namesake of the county, and then of course the year that it was founded.
Fantastic. And of course, he was truly a pioneer.
Totally.
And what a great example. And of course, I have the pride thing. Pride go up before the fall. So you got
Hey, right, you got to keep it in
every
check.
time I get a little prideful, June hits me over the hand with a board. And so I got to watch myself. I always say I graduated from Simon Kenton High School. It actually moved me out.
That's fun.
But back in those days, I ran the 100, 220, and 440, and was the fastest in high school. Now today, I think about the 100 and 220, 440, but nothing moves.
Yeah, well, you're getting around. You're getting around.
But we have a lot of fun. I sang to a group of students from Simon Kenton the other day. I was sitting there in the Kroger store, and this young man come in where I could sort of see they sort of had a little thing going. And I said, well, did you all graduate from Simon Kenton? Yeah. I said, I'll buy you both a cup of hot chocolate. And so I gave him his money, and he went over and got the hot chocolate. And I thought, and then I walked in about another 25 Simon Kenton kids. I said, I can't afford to buy them all hot chocolate.
News spreads fast.
That's fun.
But I did sing him a song before I left. Everybody loves somebody sometime.
That's good.
Makes no difference when or where or how. Everybody loves somebody sometime, and it's Simon Kenton's time right now. They loved it.
That's great.
And I love it that you're going to put a statue up there of Simon Kenton, because it's a place, and it'll be a place you can bring your students to and tell them about Simon Kenton.
Absolutely.
And his real life.
Well, we actually have plans in this read and shot room. The goal is to use it as as a public space,
Oh, yeah.
but an educational space. So we plan on bringing the high schools into the building, inviting them to come in. We talk about Civics 101. We're also talking about an Economic Development 101, where we bring elected officials and community members who want to learn about really what's going on. We can use this as a space to pull them down in the building, see the structure, appreciate it, and then connect and learn.
Fantastic. That's exactly what I was talking about when I first opened the program. You all have thought through this. You've planned it, and you have analyzed things before you made your move. Mm-hmm. You didn't just jump into something. Yeah. And because there's always surprises along the way.
There have been on that building.
Yeah. There'll always be. You get enough of those without the planning, but with the planning you can sort of minimize them.
Yes.
So that you can adjust to them. Now, on the offices down there, you have the county clerk, Gabriel Sumi.
Yes.
And a wonderful lady. I had her out on the show out here.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then you had
Sheriff Corsenborn.
Chuck Corsenborn. He ought to have a statue himself.
He will one day. He will one day.
And he ought to have his trumpet in his hand.
Yes.
And I'll be singing my old Kentucky home with him. I just love Chuck, I tell you.
He's a good human being.
He is a good human being. He's conservative as they can get conservative.
Yes. He keeps us all on our toes.
That's right. He keeps you in line.
Yes.
And him and his wife Ruth are wonderful people. Yeah. And I went to church with them for years out there at Fort Mitchell Baptist. Mm-hmm. And of course, my mom named me, after John the Baptist. That's been a little dangerous, though.
Just a little.
It's a little dangerous. That reminds me every once in a while. Jim tells me, Randy, what happened to John the Baptist? Had his head cut off. Yeah. There's a few politicians might want to think of that.
Somebody always wants to take the head off of the politician.
But anyway, Chuck Carson Barnes, wonderful fellow, and does a great job with a great staff.
Yep.
And I talked to a couple of them down there on the show the other day.
One of whom you had on the photo was my cousin.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so his financial manager, his CFO is Jerry Knockelman.
Yeah, did a great job too. I had him out there, and I show that on the Facebook and on YouTube. So, and then
you've got
John Middleton.
John Middleton. We moved over driver's license so that people don't have to go through all that
Bright,
security.
nice young man, isn't he?
Oh, John's great. And of course, I love his family. Clyde was very good to me, and John is a good friend.
And Mary, she's the one that got into politics first.
That's my wife, Well, my wife, Lisa, always said, I love Mary, but Chris, do not ever expect me to be like Mary Middleton. I said nobody could ever be another Mary Middleton.
Yeah, I've tried something for years to tell June. You ought to consider thinking about running.
Yeah.
You're very bright. You're very intelligent.
Oh.
No,
she's
don't think
too smart. She says I'm not doing that. But actually, June would be like another Mary Middleton in terms of keeping everybody together, and organizing it, and leading it, and also taking care of people who are their spouses and making us look good.
That's right, making us look good. That's it. She does do that for me.
Yeah.
But and then after John Middleton, then he is the circuit clerk.
Yes.
And he was president of the State Circuit Clerk Association.
Yes, just recently. Yeah.
And a lot of the other circuit clerks have great opinions of him too, because I dealt with a lot of the circuit clerks and the county clerks when I was commissioner of motor vehicles for the state of Kentucky back years ago under Martha Lane Collins. And I always had a good relationship with the county clerks and the circuit clerks. And then there's
Commonwealth Attorney.
Rob Sanders, tough as nails.
Yep.
If you're going to break the law, you better not do it around Rob.
Right. Rob's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy, and his dad's a smart man.
Yes.
His dad, Bob Sanders, been my attorney before. And sometimes we don't see eye to eye in politics, but.
Right.
But we still love each other.
Well, and Bob Sanders loves the community, and he works hard for it.
He does. He definitely does. He's got a good staff down there, and does a good job. And I appreciated going down and singing for him when he ran his last election.
Yeah.
I've been singing for a lot of these candidates. Yeah. It's fun.
I've been to a lot of those events.
I enjoy it, and enjoy having the fun.
Well, you've got Darlene Plummer also down there.
Yeah, Darlene Plummer, yes.
She's great.
Does a great job.
Just to welcome, she's at a conference right now with the entire state is here in Covington with the state PDAs.
Now tell us a little bit about your three county commissioners.
Yeah, sure.
They're really important to you because...
Critical.
They are critical.
Well,
People don't realize that sometimes.
Well, the way that county government works, and you all know this, but the Judge Executive, so I am essentially, I'm obviously, I don't have to be an attorney, I'm not a real judge, a black robe judge. We are essentially the mayor of the county. But I can't do anything without a budget, and I can't get a budget passed without two of my three commissioners going along with it, number one. But they are the three legislative members of our body, which are the fiscal court commissioners, and as a fiscal court member, as a judge executive, I daily implement the policies and the budget that they permit me to do. But John Dowd, it was obviously Dr. John Dowd was a longtime educator, and John is it's unique because all three of our commissioners, we have different generations, male and a female. John is obviously the oldest of the three of our commissioners, but he and I have built a very good relationship, especially this past 4 years. He and I always weren't on the same page with things, but John, I have so much respect with his wit, his insight, and I've said this to him directly. And he literally has challenged me in ways that I've had to change my mind. And I've said, you know what, John, you're right. I was wrong. And we've become friends. And as much as two gentlemen who separated by a couple of decades, I love him to death, and I respect him, and he does a great job for the county. And
there's a lot of wisdom.
Unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, he'll look at an issue and see it in a way that I don't see it. And actually, all three of the commissioners are like that. And I've learned from every one of them, and I do constantly. But and by the way, he is absolutely the funniest person who I think is in politics today. Well, his stories, and he'll come across with a little wit. And of course, when you get a little older, you can say things that I couldn't get away with, John can say. But I have laughed so hard that I've almost had to, when we're on camera for fiscal court meetings, that I've actually had to almost stop and catch my breath because I start laughing so hard. And we have a great time. Our fiscal court meetings are short, they're fun, we get the job done, and then we go, and some of us go grab a beer afterwards or whatever. As a Catholic, I enjoy beer every now and then. But we have fun together. Joe Nienaber, who is a former mayor of Fort Wright, he's a contemporary of mine, but also he's a local businessman, owns a granite company, and just a great perspective on things. He'll push and challenge. But we just have I have a great respect for Joe's perspective as well, and also find that he's correct and I'm wrong at times. And then Beth Sewell, who I had the longest time to serve with, I've known Beth, who lives in Covington. I've known Beth since 2000. We were in leadership in Northern Kentucky together, and which is just amazing that we've known each other for almost 20 years. And Beth and I are almost like brother and sister. So we banter. She calls me out when I need to be called out. Again, just such respect. So I will say this: out of 120 counties in the Commonwealth that we have, I believe strongly we have the best fiscal court. That we just it's amazing the dynamic.
It's a working fiscal court.
It's unbelievably strong, productive working fiscal court.
Yeah. I think that's exactly. Of course, that's the secret. When you look at government, you're the county judge executive, and it is an executive position.
That's right. Yep.
But government only works efficiently when it works with, number one, your schools, number two, your churches, and number three, your social and welfare programs and economic growth and development. Those are the key functions for a government to function. You have to have people with knowledge in all of those areas that are cooperative and willing to work together and that are understanding. Would you agree with that?
Totally. Well, I think you point out something there too, is that you have to be willing to disagree without being disagreeable.
Right.
Respect each other, and as long as you're not trying to hurt each other, you can get so much done. And also the other thing is I set an agenda. I present a budget, they approve it, but we set policy, right? So we set a mission and some goals, and I have to implement it. But I'm also I'm not the brightest guy, but I'm not the dumbest guy, and I also know how to vote, how to count. And I know my vote counts as one, and I've got to get two people to go along. If I can't count to three, I stop. And I say, I'm not going to beat my head over the head with a bat, because if I can't get their support, I move on. There's plenty of other work to do. And so I've learned that, and there have been things that I would love to do if I were to hit a unilateral control. I would do certain things, but I ask them their opinion. If more than one of them says, no, I can't support that, I move on.
Well, that makes common sense.
Well, I try to have some of it.
It's a reality of life.
Yeah, right.
Well, those are part of the ingredients that I have come to watch in you and in the fiscal court. Of course, I always kid John. He gets his hair cut up by Harry.
Yeah. Okay.
Harry and Daryl and Todd up Sparrow and Newton's.
Gotcha.
Of course, I always tell everybody.